Every global enterprise faces a suffocating bottleneck when attempting to scale marketing across diverse international markets. You are constantly trapped between the relentless demand for localized, high-volume content and the absolute necessity of maintaining rigid brand consistency. Traditional production pipelines are fundamentally broken, requiring weeks of agency revisions, inflating operational budgets, and slowing your time to market to a dangerous crawl. The old model of simply throwing more human capital at the problem destroys your profit margins and leaves you vulnerable to more agile competitors. Coca-Cola recognized this structural failure and executed a decisive pivot, fundamentally redefining the creative production model. By forging an unprecedented enterprise partnership with OpenAI, they bypassed incremental improvements and integrated generative AI directly into their global marketing strategy. This was not an experiment with consumer-grade chatbots, but the deployment of a secure, enterprise-grade architecture designed to shatter existing production limits. They transformed a massive operational liability into a formidable engine for automated growth and market dominance. The foundation of this transformation was a bespoke, walled garden platform combining the advanced capabilities of GPT-4 and DALL-E. This custom infrastructure allowed their creative teams to securely input decades of iconic brand assets, proprietary typography, and exact color palettes into a closed machine learning environment. By training the AI exclusively on their specific visual DNA, they ensured that every generated output inherently respected the strict, non-negotiable parameters of their historic brand identity. This technological leap fundamentally altered their speed to market and internal workflow. Rapid prototyping, a process that historically consumed weeks of storyboarding and costly agency back and forth, was suddenly compressed into mere minutes. Marketing directors could generate hundreds of high-fidelity visual concepts in a single afternoon, instantly testing localized messaging variations without spending a single dollar on physical production. The friction between a strategic idea and its tangible visual manifestation was completely eradicated. The definitive proof of concept arrived with their Create Real Magic campaign, which served as a high-stakes pilot for this new operational model. Instead of relying solely on a centralized creative agency, Coca-Cola opened their proprietary AI platform to digital artists worldwide, effectively crowdsourcing thousands of on-brand assets in days. This initiative bypassed traditional gatekeepers, proving that generative AI could successfully manage the delicate balance between democratized creative input and strict brand compliance. The financial implications of this shift are staggering for any ambitious enterprise looking to optimize their bottom line. By automating the heavy lifting of initial asset generation, Coca-Cola achieved massive cost efficiency, successfully scaling their global advertising footprint without a corresponding inflation of their marketing budgets. Capital previously locked in tedious manual production cycles was immediately reallocated toward high-level strategy, aggressive media buying, and deeper market penetration. Yet, the integration of such powerful technology introduces a profound risk of brand dilution if left unchecked by human oversight. The market is littered with cautionary tales of companies that handed the steering wheel entirely to algorithms, resulting in generic, soulless campaigns that alienated their core demographics. The temptation to fully automate the creative process often blinds executives to the critical necessity of human nuance, cultural empathy, and emotional intelligence. Coca-Cola expertly navigated this hazard by establishing a rigorous, mandatory human-AI workflow across all departments. They positioned generative AI strictly as an advanced co-pilot, a powerful tool for rapid ideation and infinite variation, rather than an autonomous creator. Every AI-generated asset still requires the discerning eye of a lead creative director to evaluate emotional resonance, verify cultural context, and ensure flawless strategic alignment before it ever reaches the public domain. This paradigm shift forced a complete recalibration of their external agency partnerships and vendor contracts. Traditional agencies were no longer compensated for hours spent on rote execution, basic image manipulation, or endless minor revisions. Instead, their value proposition shifted entirely toward strategic oversight, advanced prompt engineering, and the high-level curation of AI-generated concepts. The entire economic model moved from paying for mechanical labor to investing in elite strategic curation. Mastering this collaborative workflow unlocked the holy grail of modern marketing, which is hyper-personalization at a truly global scale. Coca-Cola can now instantly adapt a core campaign to reflect the specific cultural nuances, local seasonal events, and unique consumer behaviors of dozens of different countries simultaneously. This capability creates an unshakable competitive moat, allowing them to outmaneuver rivals who are still constrained by linear, analog production timelines. The next strategic frontier of this integration moves beyond mere asset creation and deep into predictive creative analytics. Advanced algorithms are now analyzing real-time consumer engagement data to dictate precisely what the generative models should produce next. The AI identifies emerging microtrends and automatically generates the specific visual assets required to capitalize on those fleeting market opportunities before competitors even register the shift in consumer behavior. This continuous data-driven feedback loop effectively ends the era of traditional A/B testing and static campaign launches. Instead of launching two static variations and waiting weeks for actionable results, the system dynamically generates and deploys infinite micro-variations in real time, constantly optimizing for maximum conversion. Your marketing infrastructure evolves from a static, broadcast-only mechanism into a living, adapting organism that aggressively hunts for measurable ROI. However, executing this visionary approach requires confronting the deeply entrenched data silos that plague most legacy enterprise systems. You cannot train a highly localized, effective generative model if your historical campaign data, consumer insights, and brand assets are fractured across dozens of disconnected regional servers. The echoes of those initial data hurdles still resonate for any massive organization attempting to replicate this level of automated success. To overcome this structural barrier, global leaders must architect a unified, cloud-based asset repository before deploying any AI tools. This centralized data lake becomes the single source of truth, feeding the generative engines with clean, meticulously categorized, and legally cleared inputs. Without this foundational data hygiene, your AI initiatives will inevitably produce fragmented, off-brand outputs that damage your market positioning rather than enhance it. When the data foundation is rock solid, the measurable lift in engagement and customer acquisition is undeniable. Markets leveraging localized AI content consistently report up to a 45.5% increase in conversion rates, driven by the heightened relevance and velocity of the targeted messaging. The ability to speak directly to a micro-demographic with bespoke, high-quality visuals simply converts at a much higher rate than generic, one-size-fits-all global broadcasts. This creates an insurmountable market advantage through the sheer power of rapid, relentless iteration. When your cost of generating a new, localized campaign drops to near zero, your capacity to experiment, fail, and adapt becomes virtually infinite. You can test 1,000 strategic hypotheses in the time it takes a traditional competitor to launch a single focus group, effectively dominating the narrative in every single market segment you target. Achieving this unprecedented velocity requires an aggressive, company-wide upskilling of your existing marketing workforce. You must transition your teams from traditional project managers into sophisticated prompt engineers and strategic AI directors. Their primary skill is no longer coordinating physical photo shoots or managing agency timelines, but orchestrating complex algorithmic outputs, demanding a fundamentally different type of analytical and creative talent to drive the business forward. Concurrently, you must establish an ironclad legal and compliance framework to protect your enterprise from emerging liabilities. Integrating generative AI requires strict, uncompromising protocols regarding copyright infringement, data privacy, and intellectual property ownership. Enterprise-grade agreements ensure that the proprietary assets generated by the AI remain exclusively owned by the company, shielding them completely from the chaotic legal ambiguities associated with public AI tools. The fundamental economic reality of marketing production has been permanently altered by these technological advancements. The barrier to entry for creating world-class, globally scaled content has been obliterated, shifting the competitive battleground entirely away from massive production budgets and towards strategic ingenuity. Your competitive edge now relies entirely on the quality of your proprietary data, the sophistication of your prompts, and the lightning speed of your deployment. Coca-Cola has established the definitive benchmark for Fortune 500 AI integration and enterprise-level scaling. They have proven definitively that legacy brands can adopt cutting-edge technology not just to optimize their profit margins, but to fundamentally reinvent their core operational models. This is the exact blueprint for maintaining absolute market dominance in an era where technological agility and rapid adaptation are the only currencies that matter. To deploy this strategic blueprint within your own organization, you must begin by ruthlessly auditing your current production bottlenecks. Identify the specific high-friction areas where manual content creation is strangling your growth, and pilot a walled garden generative solution tailored strictly to those pain points. Build custom models trained exclusively on your highest performing historical assets to guarantee immediate brand-safe returns and measurable operational efficiency. The integration of generative AI into creative strategy is no longer a theoretical exercise for future planning. It is an urgent, non-negotiable mandate for corporate survival. The tools to aggressively automate your production, scale your global reach exponentially, and dominate your market are available right now. The only question remaining is whether you will seize this strategic advantage today, or watch helplessly as your competitors use it to render your business obsolete.